Hello and welcome back to the Vinyl Brotherhood, where we like to kick back, take it easy, and just chat about music, whether it be the latest and greatest new releases or old favorites from years gone by. Today's a big day. We're going to review the latest record by Arctic Monkeys titled The Car. It's a very interesting album, and I can't wait to discuss it with you, so let's not waste any more time and get comfortable. We'll start here momentarily. It's good to be back with you all today. I hope everyone is doing just wonderfully. I can say with 100% certainty that I've been quite well because we have entered a new era in the Arctic Monkeys story. Yes, their long-awaited 7th album, The Car, has finally arrived. Last time we heard from our friends from Sheffield, they were contemplating a dystopian future from a luxurious cosmic resort. We reviewed Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino here on the channel a few months back. You may want to revisit that sometime, but since then, they have taken another wild musical departure. These guys never make the same album twice, to the delight of some and the chagrin of others. But if they've taught me anything, it's to not try to predict where they're taking their sound next. And I'd love to go into further detail, so let's take our LP over to the record player and we'll get things rolling.
Father's guitar, thinking about how funny I must look, trying to adjust.
First things first, as per usual, we're going to take a look at the album art. A beautiful photograph. I believe that's a Corolla there in the parking space. This photograph was taken by Matt Helders, drummer for the band. And this is the gray LP deluxe edition that I had pre-ordered, and I don't remember the name of this process, but the artwork here, not the border, but it's like a separate glossier stock that's applied to the sleeve. Got our track listing, and I'll just show you this silver vinyl now that we're here. There's the lyrics in case you're interested, and yes, this is lovely. So that is what we're working with today. Now let's discuss The Car. You know them well by now. Nick O'Malley on bass, Jamie Cook on guitars, Matt Helders on drums, and Alex Turner, the frontman, along with auxiliary musicians James Ford and Bridget Samuels helping Alex out with the string arrangements. Once again, we're subjected to a new side of the Arctic Monkeys. This album is all around moodier, grittier, and slow. If you thought the last album was pretty down-tempo, well, The Car may have you reevaluating. But thankfully, it's no snooze fest. It's a tad more dense of a record in regards to concept, composition, and thematics. I've seen it described as being cinematic, like something belonging to 70s art house. There's a warmth to the whole endeavor, but there's also a darkness or a desaturation about it, presented without a trace of irony, making it perhaps their most serious effort to date. They've retained some of the glam and loungy elements from Tranquility Base, but where there used to be overt psychedelia and sci-fi inspired production, we're hearing light touches of mid-century R&B, funk, jazz, and soft pop. We hear this stylistic shift immediately in the opening moments of There Better Be a Mirrorball, the album's first single and opening track. I've fallen completely in love with this song. The dramatic opening, Alex Turner back in full Leonard Cohen mode, the swing and the rhythm with the snare just barely hitting the mark every time. The aesthetic is just right. It's such a great listen and lets us know that Arctic Monkeys have taken the plunge into a musical atmosphere that they had only previously just dipped their toes in on the last outing. You see, as bands age, they often take to current trends in music production. They see where the cultural zeitgeist is and adjust accordingly. And more often than not, we get empty attempts at relevance, usually at the expense of solid songwriting. We see it all the time. In other cases, we get groups who shapeshift, evolve, and reinvent themselves. It's often a big gamble, but Arctic Monkeys are no strangers to the process. I've been following them long enough to see every release since Humbug receive a mixed reaction from their audience, despite being darlings of music critics the world over. But it all plays out like a cycle. The band fearlessly treads new waters, and everyone else tends to catch up with them about 6 months to a year after the fact. If you haven't come to expect wild deviations from these guys yet, I really don't know what to tell you. But as a guitar player myself, I can still understand any potential disappointment from those coming into the car with hopes of a return to their guitar-driven direction. Alas, Arctic Monkeys have doubled down, and this album strays even further from the traditional rock mold than Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino did. But to those put off by the new sound, I'd encourage you to give it some further listening. The music and the quality writing is still there as it's always been, but it's being presented differently. We've got orchestral string sections and keyboards doing what the guitars used to do this time around, playing melodies and passages that could only come from these gentlemen. The whole thing feels like the natural progression while still being something that I could not have predicted. I think it would seem unfair to expect another distinctly British post-punk record from guys that are so far removed from that lifestyle and that sound. I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. Even if they tried to replicate it, the final result would likely be a disappointment. So I don't doubt at all that the car was the right move at the right time. And yet I feel like the songs like I Ain't Quite Where I Think I Am and Hello You can meet those older fans halfway. Still present are their sultry guitar leads coated with a typically flashy veneer. Add elegant strings and bongos to that and you end up with something truly elevated and somewhat exotic. Body Paint is also one that leans more towards classic Monkeys. It can be heard in the razor-sharp guitar solo and in the increased or more obvious participation of the full band. On the opposite side of the spectrum, Jet Skis on the Moat finds Alex going full crooner mode, his soulful performance supported by a relatively minimal backing track. With obvious exceptions, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino was often a very layered and maximalist endeavor, and now for the most part, they've taken the opposite approach. Everything is sounding crisp and clear, even through the analog warmth. This is all very true to the style of James Ford, the band's longtime producer and collaborator. The album's track, The Car, and a personal favorite titled Mr. Schwartz break the mold just a bit. They implement acoustic guitars, some darker pianos, and have a bleak, slightly unsettling undercurrent to them. Now, it could be that I'm just dense, but I wouldn't even know where to begin with interpreting the lyrical content of the title track, or many other songs on this album for that matter. I've said it before that I'm just not the biggest lyrics guy, but Alex paints several compelling pictures for our minds, wit and cunning intact. Continuing along the trajectory they've been on for years, they are increasingly poetic on this album, very vivid with the imagery. It's everything we've come to expect from Alex Turner, one of the industry's very finest. Now, as far as his vocal performance goes, it ranges from grandiose and powerful to strained and sometimes wrinkly. Some might take issue with his clear limitations. I personally feel like it contributes to the grounded, somber nature of the record and not too terribly unlike his influences. But his dynamics twist and turn and fluctuate, using the music as a vehicle, wink wink, for his poetic musings. These songs are almost treated like vignettes more so than sing-alongs with nary a chorus in sight. It sort of invites you to just kind of take in the atmosphere, enjoy, and dwell on the lyrics a bit. Sculptures of Anything Goes is a fine example of what I'm saying. And I've noticed people have really taken a liking to Sculptures of Anything Goes. Strangely, it's a song that resonates the least with me, but that's not to say it isn't an interesting experiment. Sonically speaking, it's something of an outlier on the record. But of course, going back to the album's house style, if you will, I believe that the most successful numbers are Big Ideas and the triumphant closing number, Perfect Sense. The orchestral element goes above and beyond here at their most expressive and evocative. And the rest of the band find their place in the arrangement and everything is a-okay. Every second of this album feels thought out and intentional. The performances are tight and calculated where they should be and a little outside the lines where they should be. Consider the double track solo at the end of the title track. This level of mindfulness contributes to and really elevates the desired aesthetic or mood of the album, the song. Really, my biggest beef with this record might be in that the backing vocals are strangely absent. 90% of the vocals on the car consist of Alex crooning his way through chorus-free streams of consciousness. So if you liked Batphone on the previous album, you might feel right at home here. The notable exception to the rule would be I Ain't Quite Where I Think I Am, where the harmonies are swanky and enjoyable as ever. Background vocals are just something that they've utilized so well in the past, and I don't think they would have really felt out of place where they used elsewhere on the album. But it's clear enough that the band set out with different goals in mind, and it's as refreshing as ever to have scratch itches we didn't know we had. The car, like most of their records, is playing a unique role in their history, but doesn't completely abandon Arctic Monkeys' quirks, charms, and hallmarks. So while I wasn't waiting for their take on gloomy, cynical, late autumn Bacharach, I welcome it with open arms. It's a work that's great in scope, a grand vision that's been lovingly crafted to be the very best that it can. And now I'm practically rambling, so let's head back. The car has been an immensely interesting work to engage with over the last week. I've come to appreciate it more and more with every listen as I pick up on the nuances and pay closer attention to the lyrics. As per usual with Arctic Monkeys, it's not really something you could have predicted as they constantly and fearlessly push their sound to new corners of the music realm. In case you haven't picked up on my enthusiasm for this album, yes, I do hold it in very high regard. Arctic Monkeys have set the standard for themselves very high, and they're constantly challenging and surpassing expectations while making it look effortless. It may not be the cup of tea of many in their established audience, but it is a deeply immersive and engaging work nonetheless. I've grown to appreciate all 10 of the tracks on the car, and I couldn't be more pleased with this notable entry in the Arctic Monkeys catalog. We don't do this very often, but I will without hesitation score the car a 9 out of 10. Now, I do spend some time scrolling through forums and comment sections all over the World Wide Web, and I've seen both high praise and deep disdain for the car, and now I'm sort of interested in where our vinyl brothers and vinyl sisters stand on this debate. Please don't hesitate to let us know down below in the comments, and remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons on the way down. It's been an absolute pleasure to be with you all today. Thank you so much for giving us some of your valuable time. We'll be back again soon with more reviews, so keep an eye out. But for now, have a great week and God bless. We'll see you next time right here at the Vinyl Brotherhood.